Hello everyone, in this video we're going to be covering basic query structure. So the first thing to do is to open up SQL Server Management Studio and find one of the databases that you have and just open it up in the Object Explorer. The first one we're going to be looking at is this cars database. If you want this for your own use, I have a video where I have a link to some code you can run to generate the same exact database, so go check that out if you're interested. But find a database you want to play around with and just open it up, and what you need to do in writing a query is just understand that when you're writing a select statement, you're just extracting columns, which are here, from tables, which are here, from a particular database. So the query structure kind of spells that out. We are using the cars database, we are selecting columns from the owner's table, and then we have some other clauses down here like the where and order by clause where we can adjust the result set. So let's just walk through each one of these and explain what's going on. So the first one is the use statement, and the use statement simply declares what database you're going to be using. So if you go ahead and run this, we're going to be using the cars database, you get a success signal, and you're good to go. The next statement and clause is the select statement and from clause. And if we go ahead and uncomment these, what this query is basically saying is select these two columns, the ID and name, from the owner's table. And if you go ahead and run this, you get the result set. And again, just look over at your Object Explorer if you're having a hard time understanding what that just did. You are selecting the ID and name, which are right here, ID and name, from the owner's table. And if there's another way to denote the columns, if you want to select all the columns from a particular table, just use the asterisk sign like that, and you return the same result set. And just remember when you're listing your columns out to space them out with a little comma. So if you had another column, you would do comma, another column, so you get the point. So this returns our basic result set. And the next clause, the where clause, is where you can set conditions on your select from statement. So for instance, if we uncomment this, we want to select the ID and name from the owner's table where the ID equals 5. And if you look at the results that you have here, you kind of predict what you're going to see. If we run this right now, we're going to probably get this record right here, where the ID equals 5. And if we go ahead and run that, that's exactly what we get. There's all sorts of different criteria and conditions that you can set in the where clause, and we're going to be going over all of these and more in separate videos, so just stay tuned for that. But let's just walk through some of these to just show how this initial result set gets manipulated. So let's get our initial result set back up. Now if we run this where statement with ID in 1, 2, and 3, this in operator is basically where you can list several different conditions, and this is basically an OR statement. So you want to select ID and name from the owner's table where the ID is in 1, 2, or 3. And if we run this, that's exactly what we get in the result set. You could also have certain greater than, less than, or equal to operators in here. For instance, where ID is greater than 5, and let's get our initial result set up here. Now when we run it with the where statement, we should only expect to see records 6 through 12. If we run it, that's exactly what we get. Again, let's move on to this next one. Here we have what is called a wildcard, and we'll have a separate video on wildcards, but basically what this is going to return is any name record that has a K in it somewhere. So if we go ahead and run that, we get Frank, Kyle, and Keith, and these are the only name values that have a K in it somewhere. Moving on, you also have a simple equals operator where you will just get Julie in return. There you go. And finally, you could even do you could even throw what are called subqueries into your where clauses, and we'll have a separate video on subqueries later on. But basically, what we're doing here, what do you think you will get back from this? Let's walk through it. You're going to be selecting your ID and name columns from the owners table where the ID is in the selected top 5 IDs from owners. What is that? We'll go ahead and run this. Select top 5 IDs from DBO owners. The value of this is basically 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So what this is reading is select the ID and name from owners where the ID is 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. So if we run this completely, we'll get the first 5 back. And if you want to get the last 5 back, we need to move on to the order by clause. And the order by clause is where you can basically sort your columns in a particular ascending or descending order. So if we go ahead and uncomment this out, where the ID is in descending order, we should expect to see the bottom 5 IDs, which are right there. And it's set to ascending by default, so if you don't put anything, if you just do order by ID, it'll just do ascending, but you could also denote it with ASC, and you get the same result set. And you can also add multiple columns in your order by clause. In this particular example, it won't change the result set, but yeah, you could add as many columns in your order by clause as you have in your select clause, in your select statement, that is. So that's about it for basic query structure. To review, there's 5 keywords or elements, you can call them, in a very basic select statement. The first one is the use statement, where you declare what database you're using. The second is the select statement, where you select the columns you want to be returned in your result set. The next is the from clause, where you're declaring where these columns are. They're from a table. And the next is the where clause, where you set your criteria or conditions on your particular result set. And the last is the order by clause, where you basically sort the various columns that are returned. So this basically sums up basic query structure. In subsequent videos, we're going to be going into more detail in all the different functions and unique things you can do within each one of these keywords, and also expanding on a few more. So stay tuned for those videos, and I'll see you next time.